Lead me to some soul today. Oh, teach me
Welcome,
what
everyone, to
just what
episode
to
number
say.
44 of a series of episodes that we're calling Leading Others to Christ. And those of you that have been listening and watching, you know that during these episodes, we're going to be focused on evangelism. And one of our goals is to stir us all up, to stir us up to love and good works, but especially in the area of reaching our family and our friends and our neighbors with the gospel of Christ. My name is Dan Barker, and I preach for the Creekside Church of Christ in Franklin, Indiana. Franklin is about 20 miles south of downtown Indianapolis, for those of you not familiar with the area. And I also serve as one of the shepherds there. Um, those of you that know me know that I'm passionate about evangelism. I have been ever since I obeyed the gospel when I was 21 in Owensboro, Kentucky. And ever since then, I've always been striving to teach others, to use some Bible phrases, if you will, to sow the seed, to be a fisher of men and women, um, and teaching others to teach. As much as anything, I see myself as a teacher, more of a teacher than I am a preacher. But I also try to remember, and I've mentioned this every time too, of what Paul said to Timothy in 2 Timothy 2:2. And the things that you've heard from me among many witnesses, commit these to faithful men who will be able to teach others. And also later on in the chapter, Paul was telling Timothy to be useful for the master. So came up with this idea during COVID of trying to identify the men and the women around the country that are doing this, that are fellow workers, that are reaching and leading others to Christ in their community. And what we wanted to do is, once we identified them, we wanted to do this. We wanted to interview them, talk to them, find out who they are, where they're working, how they're doing their work. And so that's why we're here today. We're really excited that we have two fellas today that we're going to be talking to. We have Royce Bell and Larry Smith. Welcome, guys.
Good morning.
Good
Royce,
morning. Larry, welcome.
good morning. I think Royce is muted.
Are you there, Royce?
Yeah, I'm here.
There you go.
I'm not all there. I'm not all there, but I'm here.
You're here. That's great. That's great. This is going to be a fun interview. I know that you guys are both elders there at the church at San Bernardino, in San Bernardino, which is, if I understand it right, it's real close to Cal State University. And
About a mile.
I'm really anxious to get to and I know there's a lot of people out there that know you, but there's a lot of folks that don't know you. And this is going to be good, Lord willing.
They're the lucky ones.
They're the lucky ones. All right. Well, what I like to do is I call it like the old elevator pitch. You know, you get on an elevator and somebody says, "Hi, how are you? What do you do?" And so you go up maybe 7, 8, 10 floors or something, and you have just a short time to tell your story. So I call it the short bio or the elevator pitch. And so I want both of you, if you would, just take just a minute. Tell everybody, for example, where you were born, about how old you were when you obeyed the gospel, and just kind of brings up to speed of who you are and where you are. So, Larry, why don't you start us out? Where were you born, Larry? Kind of give us a bio about Larry Smith.
You just had to get Indiana in there, didn't you?
Had to do it.
I was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, but before I was a year or two old, my parents moved to Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. It's God's country, you know. and we lived there about 9 years. And then my folks moved us out here to California, and I've been here ever since. I attended high school up in the Newhall area, and then later on went to Harding University. And I obeyed the gospel probably when I was about 23, 24 years old. Got aggravated with the church for a while and told them to go pound sand. Finally got my senses back together and came back to the church. I was attending a a college taking a vocational course down here in San Bernardino. And it was a nighttime course because I was working full time. And somebody wasn't paying attention from the Mountain View Church of Christ, and they put a little sticker or flyer on my windshield.
Wonder who that was.
I don't know. You've been trying to find out, haven't you?
Yeah, I have for a fact.
So anyway, I went to the following Sunday. I went to the Mountain View Church of Christ and had a very positive, warm feeling about it. The preacher was good, but not looking. So
Didn't have any hair, did he?
no, didn't have any hair then. Got less now. But the atmosphere and the overall ambience of the place was warm and loving, and I've been going there ever since. Don't know why, but
Really?
All right. And
that's it. I'm not going to get into the evangelism aspect of it till Royce gives the information he wants to give, because we need to be into that together. I will say this for the moment, it had a start to it that was more or less just a shot in the dark. But Royce saw what I was doing on a Sunday afternoon basis, and he took the initiative on it, and we got it together, and it went from there. But I'll let him go with his bio now.
all right. So bring us up to speed, Royce, with who you are, where you are.
Well, I'm the rare sort who's a true California native. San Diego's hometown. My dad preached in the Hanford area. As a matter of fact, my dad was the preacher on the Churches of Christ Salute You radio program on KNGS in Hanford, which was a sponsoring church arrangement. And he became uncomfortable with that, pulled away from that. Went down to the San Diego area, which is where what I think of as home. He actually was the first preacher for the church, which became the Johnson Avenue Church in El Cajon. And that's where Barry Kirchhoffville was for a number of years. And then went to the Central Church in San Diego, which was an inner city church, very similar to San Bernardino, and really was struggling and was just about to disappear. And the eminent domain came through and took the property, and they went out to Seminole Drive. That's 4790 Seminole Drive, which is what I kind of think of as the home church. Moved to Texas. That's where I met my wife. I obeyed the gospel in 1963. I think I was baptized by A.A. McEnroe, Albert McEnroe, one of the premier people I've ever confronted. I've often said there are 5 people that influenced me to preach the gospel. Number 1 is A.A. McEnroe. Although it may have been Darrell Shaw. He was holding a meeting. And but anyway, and I've been preaching since 1971, something like that. So I'm now I'm in my 50th year now. So because that was in March or April. So I'm in my 50th year now. And every place I've gone, I've tried to work the street or the campus or various locations. When I was in Venice, California, I used to work Venice Beach. I baptized 2 or 3 people off of Venice Beach. That's where I met the guy who started Calvary Chapel. I'll think of his name here in a minute, but at my age, I forget names. Some of you may remember his name. That's where I met him, sitting around a fire on the beach with guitars and everybody. And I went and kind of joined that, and I got an opportunity to do some teaching with some people privately. Getting his name there. Then I moved to San Bernardino in 1997. I think Larry came in 98 or 99. How close am I, right? Is that right, Larry?
Yeah, pretty close.
And we canvassed the San Bernardino area. Actually, I followed Jack Gilliland, who followed Bob Witherington, who followed, let's see, Bill Mosley, who followed R.J. Stevens. So there's actually kind of a rich history to preachers that have been here down through the years. And then they started scraping the bottom of the barrel and invited me to come. But my work has never been 40 hours in an office. Matter of fact, I remember telling the elders of the church here, that was Leon Hall and Jim Horton, two precious dear brethren. I said, I'd been preaching 25 years, and I said, I don't need somebody hanging over my shoulder, watching me, telling me what to do. And I'll never forget Brother Hall saying, you wouldn't be here if we thought that's what we had to do. I don't keep office hours. I do a lot of studying at home, for instance. I have an office, or I had an office at the church building at the time we were in the old San Bernardino building, and all of the books that go along with that. But a lot of studying I do on the side, and I don't use books a lot like I used to use them when I first started out. I just take the text, And Larry was the first person I've ever encountered that I wasn't having to pump to do evangelistic work.
Wow.
And so when I saw what he was doing, then we came up with this crazy idea that we were doing 4 or 5 weeks a year in evangelism, when we would invite in from 3 to 5 guys or sisters to come in and work with us. And we've worked with some fantastic sisters in Christ. Deidre Perrin was one. She was with us visiting not long ago. Also, the 2 most capable women I've ever worked with. Bernice Boys, who I've known for 40 years. She passed away last year. I think it was last year. She was at Lake Elsinore, and I'd known her for a long time. I actually met her about the time, excuse me, Barry Kirchival was at Lake Elsinore, and she pretty well trained him to be the really capable preacher that he is. And even more, just doing teaching outside. And then Sarah DeWeese, who was a member here, and her father-in-law was one of the original charter members of the reorganized San Bernardino Church in October of 1908. We have the extant records all the way back from that. That was C.C. DeWeese. Then she married Malcolm DeWeese, his son. And then Sarah DeWeese, an absolutely awesome evangelist. She was a skilled sketch artist, and she would bring her sketch pad. And
Hey, Royce.
Yeah, brother.
Sermon's over.
Oh, that's good.
I wanted to make a comment before
Let me go on with mine now. Anyway, so go ahead, Smith. Go ahead, Smith.
Before I forget it, because this train of thought is a real small train. Royce, while he mentioned the elders and the quality of the elders that were currently operating in that office when he first got here, and they were noble men, and they were good men. They're extremely good at shepherding, but not very good at shoveling. And by shoveling, I mean when it came to the concept of evangelism and the execution of it, there was very little support. And
well, that's what they had me for.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they recognized that they weren't good at that, and that's why they brought Royce in. That's what I'm hearing.
They had regular yearly door knocking sessions with the church, and they get 20, 25 people out knocking doors, and they baptize people from time to time. But evangelism involved the evangelist. It didn't involve the members of the church, although they would knock doors and teach Bible classes. And Brother Hall was particularly effective. By the time I got here, Brother Horton had fallen. and had hit his head on some concrete steps, and he began a decline that ultimately ended up being Alzheimer's or senile dementia of whatever sort. So Brother Horton was not at his finest at that time. But then we appointed Dirk Driscoll, who was, Dirk had his own skills, and Dirk was the kind of guy, he didn't think anything about just getting out and just doing the job. So Dirk was a good co-worker here. But when it came down to getting an evangelism effort that would involve the members of the church, it was like pulling teeth. I worked for 10 years trying to get the church, through the elders, of course, to buy into a really focused evangelism effort. And that would not have taken place had it not been for Smith. It would have never gotten off the ground. Well, Larry, you remember what we were told? We kind of feel that you're forcing us to do this. And I really felt bad about that. I really and truly felt bad about that. And then it dawned on me, if I'm putting you between a rock and a hard place to get you to do what the Lord told you to do, I'm sorry if you feel sensitive to that, but we got work to do. And that's when we really began to focus on it. But I had to depend a lot on Larry in that regard. And so he kind of became a front man for me in that regard.
We teamed, Dan, we teamed up on that. Like I say, a lot of the coordination came through Royce, but it started off very slow at first, but it evolved very quickly. But one of the fundamental problems that we ran into from the very beginning, not only was the eldership at the time had the feeling that we're just shoving it down their throats, but also they missed the perspective on it. And we constantly were hearing from not only the elders, but the members also, well, we're not seeing very good numbers. And I finally preached a lesson one Sunday called Did Jesus Fail? He lost many, many people. They just walked away from him.
Yes, Smith lost a lot of people on that sermon too. I mean, it was like roll your eyes in the back of the head. So,
but the people, the elders and the general membership, they got the feeling that, we got to see the numbers. Well, excuse me. That's not what we're assigned to do. We're assigned to preach the gospel, plant and water. It's God that gives the increase.
When you're preaching the gospel, when you're teaching, you're doing evangelism. You're a success. Just I don't care where you do it. It might be a street. It might be a campus. It might be when you're talking to your neighbors. It might be at a beach like Venice Beach. That was a pretty awesome place to hang out, although some of the women really ought to put some clothes on. Well, some of the guys ought to put some clothes on too, because that was Muscle Beach. But and we were giving out free Bibles. Actually, I had done something similar to that when I was at Venice, and also when I was at Irving, Texas, West Side in Irving, where Mark Roberts has been for many years. And incidentally, Mark has done an absolutely awesome work there. And my son is married to the daughter of one of the elders there. But Larry, I'll never forget, he had a lady he was talking to on Sunday afternoon, and he said, he gave me a call on the cell phone, and he said, do we have any Bibles? I said, well, sure, we got Bibles everywhere. What are you? Open your eyes, lift up your eyes to the fields that are white unto harvest, So, and he said, well, I have a lady I need to give a Bible to. I said, take a Bible out of the pew. So he did that. And that's when I made contact with some people I already knew. I knew the president of Lockman Foundation at that time, and made contact with him. And he put me in contact with his son, who was executive vice president of Lockman Foundation at the time, and now is the president, and that's Pike Lambeth. And Pike said, "Look, you guys are giving away Bibles. We'll sell them. We'll sell them to you at our cost. I mean, that's lower than wholesale." Right. So We're at a little over 10,000 Bibles that we've given out over
10,
the last
10,000.
Yeah, we're over 10,000, a little bit over 10,000 Bibles we've handed out. Yeah. And incidentally, that's been done by the San Bernardino church. That's not other churches jumping in and kind of a sponsoring arrangement or anything like that. It's not been that. Matter of fact, quite frankly, we can't get cooperation out of the other churches in the area.
That's absolutely right. See,
we've
a little history on that.
Everybody's been offered an opportunity from everybody from Ontario to Colton to Palm Springs. We're about 40 miles from Palm Springs, to the Orange County churches. We've advertised it. We've used Facebook ads for years to get Bible studies and to inform people. We can't get brethren out of their chairs to come over here, and we've told them, if you'll come help us, we'll come help you. And I've been all over the country with brethren who came to us from Tampa, Florida, or came to us from Ohio, or came to us from Tennessee, or came to us from, I don't know where, Illinois. We've had people from Illinois. Ethan Longhenry came out here in 2010. That was the first week of January in 2010. It was 0 degrees when he left Chicago. He landed here. It was 80 degrees. He said, "You know what? I like Southern California." So now he's at Venice and has done a good work there. And if anybody with any sense would leave Indianapolis for this weather, but anyway. So,
hey Dan,
you know I want to. This is so good, and I'm trying to. And you see me looking down. It's not that I'm not paying attention. I'm trying to write notes as fast as I can. Just quick takeaway from what I heard. Number one, the names that you went through and talking about the history of the place out there and some of the names I've known. And, you mentioned Barry Kirchville. We interviewed him. You didn't mention him, but we've interviewed Joseph Sullivan. I know Joseph came out there.
Joseph came and worked with us for about a year. Yeah. And he would still be here had his dad not gotten sick.
I know. Yeah. He's there taking care of his mom and dad in Tampa. And, but he speaks so highly of you guys. And also I mentioned the other day, we just recently interviewed Bill Robinson and his family's from out there in that area. And his dad was a preacher. And Ron Adams, our son lived in San Diego for a couple of years, and I met Ron and Sarah Adams. Y'all know them? You know them?
Yeah. Ron was raised here.
Yes. And
and his wife was raised here also.
Yes. Yeah. They're down in the Tampa area now as well. But anyway, just the connections of the people. And I know that so many things, like I say, the time goes too fast. Just we might do a follow-up on this. But you mentioned several things. I know you know the street evangelism. I saw a couple of videos on the website of going to the campus there and setting up on the campus tables and looking to talk to people and then at the beginning of it, I think you said, Royce, that you've done a lot of different study approaches, but now you just like to sit down and read the Bible with people. Is that?
No, that's how I study myself. Okay. We have some material. Ross Triplett has worked with us. Ross Triplett was in Reno for years, and now he's back in Jones, Oklahoma, which is his hometown. But Ross did an excellent job writing a fantastic little tract entitled "Learning to Love the God Who Loves." He had, and one of the brethren here got a hold of it, made a couple of minor changes to it. Then I got a hold of it, and made overhaul changes to.
Right.
How'd you like I stole that, Smith?
You want to set that straight, Dan? None of the aforementioned is true.
Well, anyway, so
let me say something here, Dan, for a second, please.
Yes, sir. Yes.
This started out with something as simple as Sunday afternoon, right after morning worship, setting up a card table on the sidewalk with tracts and talking to people as they went by.
Wow.
That's it. That's all you do. That's all we do on the street. That's all we
And-
do on the street. We're not out. We're not doing
Another-
anything. We get out there. We put an easy up out there. We put a table with a couple of Bibles on it. We don't put the table at the front of the booth under the easy up. We put it into the middle of it, so people have to step under the canopy. We don't put a barrier out front. Say, you can't stand here. We're the only ones who get to be in the shade.
Oh wow!
And it didn't take very long to realize that, because Royce and I got together and we spent a lot of time talking and thinking about this, and the concept. First of all, the realization of the lifestyle here in California. It's fast. It's furious. People don't have time. So Royce,
it's secular and it is ungodly.
Amen.
Yes.
But Royce and I got together and developed the concept of the 1 hour Bible study.
Yeah. 1 hour at your convenience.
At your convenience. Exactly. That was my line, but
Okay.
we realized, and even then we called it a 1 hour Bible study, but even then we tried to shorten it up, because in reality, you've only got very little time, very few minutes to catch somebody's attention, and not to do the study right then and there, but to get them to sign and put their name and number down that we could contact them at their convenience and do a study.
Yes. Well, again, just and I've done this over the years of learning, and I use what I'm comfortable with as far as teaching tools. And I know you have too, and we all tweak them and to fit our personality. I guess we're all teaching the truth. We can't change that, obviously.
Can I make a suggestion real fast?
Yes, sir.
Larry, you're the evangelist on the street. I'm the goofball walking down the street. Let's do the role play on the free Bible approach. Okay.
Okay.
All right. You okay with that, Larry?
Yeah.
You take it. You're the evangelist standing out on the street holding the Bible, looking for some poor chump to walk by. Take off.
Have you got a minute?
No, not really. I'm headed up to the courthouse. I got a court date here in a minute.
Would
What's
you be
going on?
interested? Would you be interested at some time at your convenience to have a short Bible study?
No, I don't like Christians.
Would you be?
We do hear that.
Oh,
We
I
do
know
hear
you
that.
do. I know. Yeah.
Well, my
Do you-
approach would have been a little bit different. What I would have done, Larry,
Do
you
you
play
have
the
a
other guy. I would say, Larry's walking down the street. He's a poor chump who's lost and going to hell in a handbasket. And I say, hey, you need a Bible?
And
Larry,
and what
Pick
what
up
would
with
you
the
say?
idea. Here we go. Hey, do you need a Bible? Your
No,
turn,
I have.
Smith.
I have a Bible.
Do you read it?
Occasionally.
It's kind of amazing some of the things that are there within it. So what are you heading out somewhere? You're out here by the courthouse. So you heading in for the court?
Yeah, I'm going on trial.
Whoa, really? Well, I want to ask you if you're guilty or not. I guess that's what the trial's all about. So you feel the need of prayer? Would you like? I'd like to pray with you if you got a few moments.
And many would pray.
Yeah. But we've prayed, man. We've probably prayed with a few murderers along the way. But that's what I do. I ask people, do you need a Bible? If they say no, I have one, then I say, do you read it? If they say, well, yeah, they'll usually say, how much is it? Matter of fact, we ran into that. We loaded up a wagon with Bibles and walked down the streets. Hey, and holler up to the porch, where people out on a Saturday. Hey, you guys need a Bible? And they'll say, how much is it? They don't cost no money.
Royce and I did that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Little red wagon.
Wow.
We got
Wow.
dozens of Bible studies that way.
All right, let's do this real quick, if we can. And I know we just got a couple minutes left, but I want to do let's call it a conversion story. if one of you can think about somebody that whoever it might have been, and that ended up, maybe it was one of the ones you approached on the street or wherever, you set up, they agreed to study, they ended up obeying the gospel. Somebody that you always think about and bring up maybe as an example that the people need to hear about.
Larry, tell them about Linda Payan.
When I first started doing this, I got the idea on Sunday afternoon of setting up a table out front. There's just a card table, I think.
He only has 2 minutes, Larry.
And I got some tracts that I gathered out of the dusty track bin and laid them out there. And a lady named Linda Payan came walking down, and we talked, and we had prayer, and we talked a little bit more, and she obeyed the gospel.
Well, that's the one. Larry called me in the afternoon, said, "Do we have any Bibles? I've got a girl who needs a Bible."
Wow!
So he just took a pew Bible, got a Bible study with her, and baptized her. Now she has some emotional problems, but she has really, really struggled. But this has been over about what now, Larry? 12 years, 15 maybe.
At least 12 to 15, at least.
Yeah, and she still maintains contact. So,
well, this has come up several times with the interviews, the what if scenario, just like using that one. Thinking about what if, Larry, if you had not gone out there with the card table with the tracts, and you never met Linda. She would just walk by, and you never would have met her, and never had that opportunity. So it's those moments like that. We pray all the time, asking God for opportunities to teach others. And I think he puts them in our way, and we just walk by them or don't recognize them or whatever. But you see what I'm saying? What if you had never done that, Larry? Linda would never have become a Christian.
At least I would not have been given the opportunity to talk to Linda about Christ.
Exactly. All right, Royce. What's one that you have, Royce?
That's something that Royce and I both agree on. You can't build it and they will come. You've got to go take it to them.
Yeah. One that is really compelling. One of the men that was appointed an elder here was Lee Wolf. We had one person in the church that objected to Lee Wolf being appointed as an elder because they said, you're not a teacher. Okay. Pigeonhole that for a second.
Okay.
Funeral home called me, said, we have a family that needs a pastor for a funeral service. Would you mind contacting his family? I said, sure, that's fine. So I went over, talked to the family. Mother was Lutheran. She had died, and put together a funeral service for her and got ready to leave. And in the meantime, if I'm going to preach a funeral or something like that, I've got to preach what the truth is. It's just that simple. And my 3-prong approach is I reason with righteousness, self-control, and judgment to come. This is Paul's sermon, to a Roman ruler. But anyway, she said, by the way, what church did you say you're a member of? I said, the Church of Christ down on Mountain View. She said, oh, we used to go there.
Wow.
I said, really? And she said, yeah, do you know Brother Witherington? And incidentally, you need to interview Bob Witherington, Dan. You really need to interview Bob Witherington. Anyway, and I said, yeah, I know Bob. And Sue said, yeah, she had cancer. So I knew they knew exactly who it was.
Yes.
I said, Bobby did our son's wedding in our backyard. And said, oh, well, that's interesting. I said, well, this was a Saturday afternoon. She said, we're going to come to church tomorrow. Got there. Lee Wolf made contact with them, came to me and said, I've got a Bible class set up with this couple over here, Art and Carolyn Skidmore. Now, this is the guy that one person objected to because he wasn't the teacher.
Yes.
He came to me and said, I've got a Bible class set up with him. I'd like to study the Gospel of John. Is that a good, do you feel okay with that? Are they at the point they can handle it? I said, I think the Gospel of John is awesome. Yeah, do that. He came to me one Sunday morning, several weeks later. He said, Art Skidmore wants to obey the gospel this morning. I said, well, how about you baptizing him? He said, no, I can't. My legs are too weak. I'm not sure I can get up and down out of the baptistry. So I said, okay. Well, I went over to, no. He said, Carolyn, no, that was right. Art Skidmore wanted to be baptized. So I went over and I said, shook Art's hand. I said, Art, good to have you. Lee Wolf tells me you want to obey the gospel this morning. He said, yeah, I thought I might do that if it's okay with you guys. I said, hey, I'd love it. Carolyn says, well, I want to be baptized too. I can't tell you the number of times that's happened. The 3 different couples that we baptized a Baptist deacon, Larry Rowe, and his wife Ann, off of a similar, well, that was a street contact we made with their neighbor, Doug Roten. Doug Roten was a member of the church here, and we made contact with Doug, restored him. He'd been a Christian and out of duty for 25 years. We restored him, and he said, I'd like for you to talk to my neighbor. And we baptized Larry and Ann Rowe out of that also. So I don't know how many husband-wife teams that we baptized, Larry, 4 or 5, something like that. But we're not talking about rocket science here. You just say, evangelism the easy way is not an evangelism effort. It's just being a Christian. Yes. I preached funerals for 3 of my neighbors here, including one funeral in Seattle at the Seattle National Cemetery. And the next door neighbor paid my way up to Seattle to preach a funeral for a family. Wow. Was not able to baptize either the man or his wife, studied with the daughter several times. And she was a casting director in Hollywood. Wasn't able to baptize her, but everybody in this community knows I'm a Christian. Everybody here knows that I'm a preacher. So
yeah, me too.
That's just evangelism the easy way. Just be a Christian.
Be a Christian.
Just be a Christian. Make yourself available.
Hey, Dan.
Yes. One last thing, Larry.
Okay.
Last word.
Royce and I have, over the years in these evangelism events, unfortunately, have had more than a few preachers that have come out and are totally unfamiliar and afraid of this concept.
Yes.
Cut Larry 1 minute to tell you the story about the preacher who stood for an hour with 5 Bibles to give away. Tell that story real fast, Larry.
This was at the courthouse. And after a few minutes, I noticed that he blended in with the oak tree. And
this guy's been preaching 17 years now.
Okay.
And I finally said, should I give his name?
No, don't do that.
Okay. I finally went, I walked over to him and I said, are you going to talk to somebody? You've got people stepping on your toes. He said, I've never really done this before. Yeah. And like Royce said, this man had been preaching 17 years. And that's not the only one. We've had several out here that just stood there and froze up.
Real quick, Larry got a call. Larry's a commercial refrigeration guy. He got a call, had to do it, came back 1 hour later. The guy is still standing there. And Larry walks up to him and says, are you going to hand out these Bibles? He said, I'm learning.
We finally ended up calling him the Cigar Store Indian.
Yeah, we did.
he was frozen, huh? Guys, this has been great. We've had several that have said, why don't you make these longer? Maybe we need to think about doing that. But
let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, we need to do this again. And don't go away. As we said, we'll be talking for a few minutes here afterwards, but we're going to close it out. And I just want to say thank you. Lord willing, I'd love to meet you guys face to face, and Lord willing, we'll have that opportunity.
We're gonna do an evangelism effort either in May or in September. Depends on Governor Newsom. Whether Governor Newsom, Governor Newsom. Anyway, depends on if he lets the state open up.
Okay, I got you the first time.
So we've got you. I've got you on the list for September. Third week of September. So. You'll need to fly in the Saturday before the 3rd Sunday. So, and I'll pick you up in Ontario.
That would be awesome.
You're certainly welcome. And we'll definitely, I've got you on the list now. It's now confirmed.
You know what? It's what I like that. I like the way you close. That's good. the just the enthusiasm that you have, and I appreciate it. Everything I've heard about you too, it's proved out here to be true. And keep that energy going, because I don't want to go there, but like you've referred to it a couple of times. There's way too many congregations, and I'm not being judgmental. It's a fact. There's just way too many.
I'll be judgmental.
The congregations are they're not lukewarm, they're dead. And churches are closing their doors, and people, for some reason and somehow, there's been a generation of people that have grown up and haven't understood what you guys do every day. And it's sad. And I think that's the influence of Satan, is trying to convince us that we can't do it, or it's somebody else's work. Get me going here. But I really appreciate what you do, and keep it up, and we will follow up with you. So thank you so much. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, and to know more about what you're doing, what's the best way to reach you?
Well,
Royce?
the church's website is faithlight.org. faithlight.org. You
Okay.
just send a note to elders@faithlight.org, and it'll get to us.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks, brothers. Love you guys, and keep up your good work.
Thank you, Dan. Love you too, brother.
Thanks, man.
Melt my heart and fill my life. Give me one soul today.